Hello, this is Rahmaan, author and founder of the Child Support Hustle. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. Turn this light down because that is bright. I hope everybody's doing well. There we go. I think that's better. Okay, that's better, I think. How's that? Uh, I hope everybody's doing well this evening. I'm doing just fine. Might have to edit this. Okay. Hi, how's everybody doing? I don't want to go off of here. I know I can't never get this damn light right. So I want to jump right into it because this is kind of long. Um, Again, this is Rahmaan, author and founder of the Child Support Hustle. And this evening I want to talk about the mass shootings that have occurred and about some a politician and a pundit um, blaming these shootings on fatherlessness. Before I get started, I want to send my condolences to all the families that lost loved ones in these shootings, massacres, and send my condolences. And hopefully, we can tackle the problems, the real reasons why these occur. And it's not fatherlessness directly, or I don't, especially in these cases, indirectly. So I'm just going to get started. Thank you all for joining me, and thanks for the like so far. Appreciate it. So, okay, with the mass shootings, the powers that be have somehow blamed fatherlessness for the reasons that the two murderers decided to open fire on innocent victims. Republican Senator Mike Lee, and he's out of Utah, made the news last week when, during the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, he made comments about fatherlessness and mass shootings. According to Jennifer Bendery, Bendery, writer for Yahoo, Lee said, quote, "Every time one of these tragedies occurs, I think we, for far too long, fail to look back at the root causes of rampage violence," end quote. So on this occasion, Lee is referring to the tragedy that occurred in Texas, which left 19 children and 2 adults dead after being shot by Salvador Ramos on May 25th. We all know, we've heard about the massacre. So Lee went on to say that, quote, "Questions involving things like why is our culture suddenly producing so many young men who want to murder innocent people? It raises questions like, could things like fatherlessness and the breakdown of families, isolation from civil society, or the glorification of violence be contributing factors," end quote. So first of all, these shootings are not sudden. This is not the first time that somebody went into a school and shot the school. This isn't even the second time. So this isn't sudden. Secondly, by all accounts and purposes, the gunman had his father in his life. The father, who shares the same name as his son, was interviewed by the Daily Beast. And according to the article by Roger Sollenberger, the son reportedly had a poor relationship with his mother. And the father admitted that he hadn't spent much time with his son lately because he had been employed outside of the city. So that suggests that he had been in his son's life, not absent, and his son wasn't fatherless. So, and I can't say this enough, just because a father doesn't live in the home with his children does not make his children fatherless. They want to keep, and when I say they, the pundits and politicians, they like to push that narrative that because children don't live in the same home with their father, that they are somehow fatherless. And just like if a mother doesn't live in the same home as their children, those children are not motherless. So that's a false narrative, and they need to stop pushing that. Then they want to justify that when they want to blame social problems on fatherlessness. So there was another mass shooting prior to the Texas shooting in Buffalo, New York. On May 14th, an 18-year-old Peyton S. Glendon murdered 10 people and injured 3 other innocent grocery store patrons as they shopped at Tops Friendly Market. In an article by Jesse McKinley, Alex Traub, and that's Traub, and Troy Clausen of the New York Times, shortly after the gunman was captured, a manifesto believed that he had posted online by Glendon emerged, riddled with racist, anti-immigrant views, claiming white Americans were at risk of being replaced by people of color. That is clear cut and straight to the point. The killer isn't talking about missing his father or blaming his disdain for people of color on growing up fatherless. But that doesn't stop people like ex-NFL player Jack Brewer from blaming shooting massacres on fatherlessness. And this is not the first time I talked about Mr. Jack Brewer and his blaming fatherlessness on everything under the sun that has to do with social problems in the United States. He's down there in Florida, and they just passed a law down in Florida. I did a video about it. I didn't add the link yet, but I will. And he's been on several shows, and they interview him, and he's on and on about fatherlessness and how society has failed because of this. But really, they don't have any backup for what they claim. Just like he doesn't have it here. But listen to what he says on the interview with Newsmax on May 26th. Brewer said about the Texas shooting, not about the New York shooting, but about the Texas shooting, that, quote, "This tragedy is a warning across our nation, a warning of what fatherlessness can really mean and how it's affecting our society. And thank God we are focusing on this and not gun control," end quote. You see, Brewer immediately brought in another topic that he and millions of others do not want to discuss, and that's gun control. And he blamed it on the usual suspect, fatherlessness. Thank God that we're not talking about gun control. We're going to talk about fatherlessness, which has nothing to do with the shooting in Texas, and it has nothing to do with the shooting in New York. The evidence shows that not only was the Texas shooter not fatherless, the Buffalo shooter wasn't fatherless either. Sean Boberg of the Washington Post wrote an article detailing information about the suspected murderer's family and what they possibly knew about their son's upcoming rampage on innocent victims. Boberg reported that Glendon wrote that his parents were unaware of his powerful weapons he was acquiring and hiding in his bedroom, and did not know he was buying and selling silver coins to finance his ammunition purchases. He repeatedly lied to them about attending a local community college and had secretly quit this year. As you can tell by the report, Glendon's parents were not residing under different roofs. They were not divorced. They were living together as husband and wife, and they were both raising this son who would later grow up to become a racist who wanted to kill Black people. That is a fact and cannot be blamed on him being fatherless. It can't be. He said it. Glendon wrote that, quote, "My parents know little about me. Not my mother, my parents. They don't know about the hundreds of silver ounces I've had or the hundreds of dollars I've spent on ammo. They don't know that I spent close to $1,000 on random military shit. They don't even know I own a shotgun or an AR-15 or illegal magazines," end quote. It doesn't say anything about his mother or "I wish my dad was here." How can Brewer say, "Thank God we are talking about fatherlessness instead of gun control," when this journal is filled with an accused mass shooter writing about guns that he owns in an illegal magazine that he's acquired unbeknownst to both of his parents, not just one. A little about his parents, which anybody can find on a quick Google search. And they have resources, Brewer and the senator. They can go look this up just like I did. And what you'll find is that his parents weren't quote unquote bad parents. By how we measure success, they sound very successful. The Washington Post reported that they're both civil engineers. His father has quite an impressive resume. He is active in one of the New York's largest labor unions. He sits on the union's executive board. He chairs a statewide committee focused on labor management issues at the state's transportation agency. He testified at the transportation budget about the transportation budget in 2017 in front of the New York State Assembly, and he's worked for the agency for 23 years. He sounds really important, and his mother also works for the state transportation agency. So clearly, fatherlessness was not a problem for Glendon. And in fact, this young shooter received a gun as a Christmas present from dear old dad when he was just 16 years old. So the thought that fatherlessness was not more clear or a relevant factor in these shootings, and the people that we elect or are representative of, different organizations will put this stuff on the forefront and blame fatherlessness when it clearly doesn't exist is bullshit. And they keep regurgitating these talking points, and nobody is saying anything. In fact, if you look at the comments, and of course the links are in the description of this video, people support this and say, oh yeah, good job. You guys are really talking about this, and I'm so happy you're bringing this to the forefront. Bringing what to the forefront? It's a lie. The reason if they do this, it's up for interpretation. I always say it's about money. They can keep pushing this false agenda because it's going to come out to money. You push this, oh, these kids need fathers, and the fathers abandon the kids, and then we tie it in the child support. We can get more child support because these fathers abandon their kids, when in reality they're not abandoning their children. They're not. Like I said before, because the father doesn't live in the home does not mean that he has abandoned or that these children are fatherless. That's not what that means. But if you keep pushing that narrative, people will believe the lie. You tell a lie long enough, people start believing it. Then you come up with the child support hustle, the fatherless crisis hustle, and it means dollars and cents, more dollars and cents for the government and private corporations. Some people say the government is a private corporation, especially after Citizens United. I'm not going to dispute that. There's big money in all of this off of these children. So the New York Times mentioned other mass shooters who were motivated by racism. So I'll use them as an example. And since Lee and Brewer want to ignore the obvious reasons for the Buffalo shooting, and I didn't go and look on Twitter and all these other social media platforms at other pundits and other people that talk about this, but I'm sure, I'm 100% sure that other people are saying this, are pushing the same narrative. But I don't have those social media platforms anymore. So just because sometimes when you see this bullshit over and over, it just drive you crazy if you let it. So I don't even do it. I'll see a news article like this, and this is a big deal. But other than that, but I know it's some other people, a lot of other people that are blaming these shootings on fatherlessness, especially if a senator is talking about it. And somebody like Brewer, who's tight with the governor of Florida. I can't think of his name right now. But then they just did this whole big deal with worth millions of dollars, this bill down there in Florida. So people are pushing this shit. So I want to talk about a few other mass murderers and whether they had their fathers. So first I want to mention Dylan Roof. If you're unfamiliar, which I'm sure most are not, Roof was sentenced to die in South Carolina prison, in the South Carolina prison after the 2015 massacre of 9 Black church members. His parents were divorced, but according to the New York Times, his parents divorced and reconciled when he was born, but he was raised by both of them in both homes. So again, okay, he wasn't in his father's home. I mean, his father wasn't in the house with them, but he helped raise him. His father put him to work landscaping for his business when he was a teenager, but the teen preferred to spend his pay on marijuana. So he worked for his father. So his father wasn't absent, he was there. Not only was his father active in Ruth's life, according to the AP, Ruth wrote that he loved his father and he apologized to him in writing. In suicide notes found by authorities after the killings, Ruth wrote to his father, quote, "You were a good dad," end quote. In a birthday card from his parents, his father also promised to buy him a gun. That's 2 killers who had active fathers in their lives, one who actually bought one of the killers a gun and one who promised to buy him one. And 2 killers who were racist and killed Black people, and not because they were fatherless. So there's another mass murderer, and that's Patrick Crusius, Crusius. I think I'm spelling that right. And on August 3rd, 2019, he gunned down 23 innocent people in an El Paso, Texas Walmart. Unlike the other killers that I've discussed, this murder was like the killers I've discussed, this murderer was not fatherless either. Rachel Chasen, Annette Nevis, Annie Gowan, and Haley Fuchs from the Washington, that might be wrong, but they were from the Washington Post, reported that his father, Brian, did this. He was a therapist. That murderer's father was a therapist, and his mother, Lori, was a hospice administrative nurse. And they were devastated by their son's action. They were not divorced, and he was not raised by a single mother. They were living together under one roof, raising their children together. This boy was a twin. Well, this man was a twin, both employed with what society would consider good jobs. And they both raised together a killer. The Washington Post article said that his parents believed that their son's actions were, quote, apparently influenced and informed by people we do not know, and from ideas and beliefs that we do not accept or condone in any way. He was raised in a family that taught love, kindness, respect, tolerance, rejecting all forms of racism, hatred, and violence, end quote. Apparently, these values did not transfer over to their son, because he certainly did not believe in tolerance, because he told the police when he was arrested that he was targeting Mexicans when he went on his murderous rampage. But again, not only was this guy not fatherless, but the lawyer for the family said that according to the family, there was no indication that the shooter wanted a gun. But the Washington Post reported that the guy occasionally went, guess where? To the gun range with who? His father. And that the mother had, quote, absolutely zero concern about any violence or imminent threat, end quote. So I just went over a number, 1, 2, or five, I'm sorry, mass murderers that all had their fathers in their lives or in their household. They lived with their fathers and they committed murder, mass murder on innocent people. And politicians like Mike Lee and pundits like Jack Brewer are going around to whoever wants to listen saying that fatherlessness is the reason that these murderers are opening fire, allegedly, for the ones that's not on death row, allegedly opening fire on innocent children and adults. And Brewer is thanking God that we're talking about fatherlessness instead of gun control. Now, everybody should have a problem with that. And nobody's talking about it. In conclusion, the fact that Senator Lee and Jack Brewer are parting their lips to blame these heinous executions on innocent victims on fatherlessness is absolutely disgusting. In every instance I provided, including the last two in New York and Texas, the shooters had active fathers. The New York killer actually resided in a home with both his parents, who by all accounts were quite successful. In many instances, the fathers actually purchased firearms for their sons or took them to the gun range. When you are a parent and you are buying weapons for your children or taking them to the range, and listen, I'm a parent and I know for a fact we cannot watch our children 24/7, and we cannot say what our children will and won't do. And a lot of people say that, or you can't, my kid will never do that. I'll never say never. You don't know. But if I'm taking my kid, one of my children, to the gun range, I'm going to know for damn sure if they are thinking about going and killing up people in the school or going in a Walmart and opening fire. I'm going to know that. That's my responsibility to know if one of my children hate people enough to go and open fire on innocent people. You have to know that as a parent. And that's a single mother or a single father. Now I'm gonna take, now sometimes you have to take responsibility and not pass the buck. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know. You taking him to the gun range. You took time out to take him to the gun range. You took time out to buy a weapon for your child. Now that's not in my script. That's just period. As parents, we gotta take responsibility for these kids. No, we can't say 24/7, but if you're going to train them to use a fucking gun, then you need to know if they're going to go up in and shoot people that they never met before. And then we got these politicians that we elect that want to pass the buck because they don't want to talk about what the fuck is really going on. Excuse my language. In many instances, the fathers, okay. It seems that politicians and pundits love to push the fatherless crisis hoax, that's what I call it, because it takes attention from the real problems plaguing society. One being arguably the need for gun control in the United States. And I'm not one to say we do or don't need this or that. I'm saying that there's an issue that needs to be addressed. And instead of addressing the issue like leaders are supposed to do, the people that are elected to handle the big problems, that get paid the big bucks, get to fly around and have meetings and all that type of stuff, they're talking about things that are not factors when things like this happen. Just like Brewer, who said, thank God we're talking about fatherlessness instead of gun control. He is telling everybody right there that let's talk about something that doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the real issues. So we don't have to talk about illegal magazine clips and assault rifles used to gun down innocent children and unarmed adults for nothing more than their race. The second issue is that people in charge are continuously trying to convince this country that fatherlessness is the reason for these murders, instead of the reasons that murders are actually telling, reasons that the murderers themselves are actually telling the world why they're doing this. It's not even that we don't know. Like the one in Texas, we don't know why he did that, but he's alive. I'm sure we'll find out. But the other people, they're leaving they're leaving their booklets and all these journals, and they're saying why they're doing this. But they're ignoring that. And the reason in all except one was racism. We don't. So Grendon, Cruz, the one in El Paso, and Ruth all had racist material on their computers, and all left some type of writing indicating support for the Great Replacement theory. So I'm not going to go into that theory and everything like that, but I'll say this: that's something that they all believed in wholeheartedly, all three of them, by all reports, and they all believed enough in the theory that they murdered innocent people simply because of the color of their skin. But the pundits are blaming it on fatherlessness, even though these people said why they did it. It's extremely reckless and dangerous for people with such powerful platforms to say things like mass murderers are killing people on this scale because they are not raised by their fathers or by men, period. That's dangerous, especially when they know it's a lie. I'm not saying that fatherlessness is not an issue on some levels, but real fatherlessness, meaning that fathers don't live in a home, can be rectified simply by allowing fathers to be fathers in most cases. Parental alienation is a huge problem, and child abuse. It allows the custodial parent, who is that is mostly mothers. Now, moms, I know y'all say, well, moms are alienated too, and I know that, but we're talking about fatherlessness. So when the mothers alienate these fathers, nothing is done. They keep these children away from these fathers. They make these children believe the father doesn't want them, the father doesn't love them, and these children grow up, and the stats say they are more likely to drop out of school, become sexually active early, become teenage parent. It's a whole slew of things. Excuse me. Then they blame it on fatherlessness, but then they do nothing about parental alienation. They should criminalize that, especially when they know that these problems happen. And it's not mass shooting, as we can see. I'm not saying none of the mass shooters grew up without their father, but these instances that are going on right now is just not true. They're lying to the child, making them to believe that these fathers don't want them. So if they want to truly tackle the problem with fatherlessness, let these fathers be fathers. That type of brainwash of telling a child that their father doesn't want them when they are keeping them from their child is harmful. It causes mental health issues to that child, and eventually the child grows up to face a lot of problems, and that brings social ills to society. If we criminalize parental alienation, we can decrease the number of fatherlessness children in the U.S. substantially. People always quote the number 18.4 million fatherless children living in America, but that number of children living without a biological adoptive father, biological, or a stepfather. And that's according to the National Fatherhood Initiative. We have to remember that we have to stop letting people with big microphones dictate to us what fatherless or what a fatherless child is, because that's just building their profits. That's it. Just like these killers were not fatherless, the politicians want people to believe it. Fatherlessness is not the problem that is plaguing this country. It's time to make these politicians that we vote into office, remember they work for us, do their jobs and stop running their mouths when it's time to get votes. And that's what they do. They come in with all that big ass talk. When it's time for them to get reelected or get elected, they talk their shit. And then when they get in the office, they don't do anything but pass the buck, pass the blame, and do stuff like this. Talk about nothing. They talk about things like abortion and whether they're going to repeal abortion, stop abortion, let's fight back and forth, when really they don't care anything about these children. And we see it in the numbers. We see it in the money. We see what they do in the schools. Like, we see that they don't care anything about these children. They'll fight about the fetus and just disregard the child. Let's hold them accountable, both in the child support system and how they carry out the people's business. Children are not fatherless because they don't live with their fathers, and we need to stop them from telling that damn lie and make them accountable for how they handle the children. That is so important. Children are the future. Whitney said it. The children are the future. I just talked to my brother about it. We have to get the children young. These killers did not commit these crimes, the ones I discussed, because they were fatherless. Stop lying. They need to stop lying to us. Well, they ain't lying to me because I peeked. I just went and looked. They need to stop doing that to further their agenda. And we have to stop letting them do that. Because like I said, if you go look at that Jack Brewer interview and look at the comments, people is rocking with that. Oh, you're saying such a great thing. Yes, it's so true. Yes, that the society is falling apart because it is. No, let these men see their children. Stop with the bullshit. So I'm gonna go to the comments because that is my I guess what do you call it? That's my video. And I'll thank everybody that stayed. I said it was long, so, and I started off with the lights wasn't, what's the name, but I thank y'all for staying with me. Thank y'all for liking. If y'all here, please like if y'all haven't already. And I'm gonna go read the comments and answer any questions that are there. Let me know if you're watching this later. Let me know what you think. Somebody has said on Facebook, like, it's true about what the senator said. And I'm like, how can that be true when about the fatherlessness if the killers have fathers? Like, how it doesn't even make sense. And sometimes you can't go back and forth. Some people just want to debate. Even if the facts are presented, some people want to argue, they want to debate, and I don't waste my energy on that. Because some shit is bullshit. Y'all know that. And you can't make sense out of bullshit. But if I'm sitting up there and giving you sources that says that these parents are there, then how are they fatherless? It doesn't go together. They either are or they're not. Child of reason. Yeah, it sucks. And then if you're alienated and you try to go and press charges, try to get some kind of resolve from the court system, they're not really going to do anything. And if you say something to in like a forum or like on my child support hustle page on Facebook, when people say about them being alienated or something like that, there's always somebody that says, oh, you can go to court and you can file contempt if you don't see your kids, and you can do this. It's not that simple. They don't care. And when I say they, I'm talking about the family court system. They don't care if a father doesn't get to see his child. That's not their priority. Why? Because there's no money in visitation and ending parental alienation. They don't care about that. So all the people that say you can go do this and that, no, you can't just go do this and that to see your child. And if the parent, you don't know where the parent lives, you can't just go pull up on them. And if the parent lies on you and says, oh, he's violent, then you can forget about it. You might never see your child again. But then they'll sit up there and say, oh, he abandoned the child. The child sitting up there getting fed all this bullshit, talking about they don't want, the dad don't want them. And now we got a fatherless child. It's the man's fault. It's the father's fault. It's nonsense. Like, we got to wake up. Like, the brainwash is real. And then this child support system, because they allow the shit, because they get a piece of this money, not a little piece. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So that's why people be cheerleading for this shit. Go put him on child support. Go put him on child support. And if you think about the average person, I'm not talking about rich celebrities and all that kind of stuff where they getting $200,000 a month, nothing like that. I'm talking about average, we going to work, or, you know, we making minimum wage and stuff like that. You might get $200 a month. You might get $50 a month. And then they're going to come, if you can't afford that, because we in what's going on now, I say it's a recession. They say inflation and all this kind of stuff. You can't afford that. They're going to lock you up. They're going to lock the father up. But then they want to say fatherlessness is the issue. Why are you locking that man up? And now he really can't see his kid, because he might go underground to avoid getting shot in the back like Walter Scott, because they got a warrant for him over some funky ass money that's a fake debt on a fake child support order. You see? But they'll blame the fatherlessness and the whole social ills on that man being absent. It's a vicious cycle and it's bullshit. Let me see. Yeah, and it costs money. Let me go up here to the top. Yeah, follow the money as always. Mental health. Thank you, blessed by the best. Mental health is another very important issue that they don't want to discuss. And I'm gonna see, tell my age a little bit. 21 is what it is. No, back maybe about 30 years ago, mental health patients were actually in hospitals. Like, there was hospitals everywhere, and if you had a loved one that suffered from like bipolar or something like that, they lived there. And for some reason, they shut all these mental health hospitals down. So what happened is all these mental health patients were all of a sudden on the street. Well, then the prisons, the jails and the prisons start filling up, and then we start getting a huge homeless population, because all the mental health hospitals were just gone. And, you know, again, money, they didn't want to pay, but they start building these private prisons, and they needed to fill them up. So close the hospitals, build the prisons, and put people that needed to be in hospitals on medication and under doctor supervision. We're gonna put them in prison. And if they don't do a crime, if they don't commit a crime, they gotta live on the street. That's what happened. If y'all old like me, if y'all old like me, y'all remember when there were actually hospitals for the mentally ill. And they don't do that no more. Like, it's a cold game out here. It's a cold game out here. And then they pass the blame. Oh, we're gonna just blame it on, you know, fatherlessness. And they know it's bullshit. And I could not believe that Brewer said that. Like, thank God we're talking about fatherlessness and not active shooters or whatever, gun control. Like, what? That's crazy. Let me see. Yeah, they do get it. The red flags get ignored. But I'm saying, even with the red flags, if you're taking your child to the range, you know, and you're buying your child a weapon, you maybe even take them to a doctor first. Take her to, you know, excuse me, take them to get them evaluated to see if they can handle having a weapon. That's something you have to do your due diligence when you give somebody a weapon that can kill people. That, I mean, do your due diligence. Just because they can have a gun don't mean you should give them a gun. Right, the elephant in the room. Thank you, child of reason. It sickens me too. I would file for a modification. That's something about child support, and they don't want to follow the guidelines that are there, and they are supposed to. But if you can't afford, if you pay child support and you can't afford your basic needs, your rent, your food, your basic needs, they are supposed to give you a modification so that you can afford your basic needs. That's what they're supposed to do. They are not supposed to be charging you, what do you say, 445, and you can't afford. They're not supposed to keep charging you that. Like, these child support agencies are out of fucking control. And because we have these politicians in charge and they're not even accountable for their actions, the child support agencies aren't accountable for their actions because nobody's checking them. Because they get all this incentive money for doing what they do, which is screw over parents. And in the meantime, you can't see your child because nobody's enforcing any kind of visitation, anything like that. It's all about money. They do not care about these children. And I get so many people that want to argue with me about or convince me that this child support system is necessary. Oh no, you need to protect yourself. You need to do this. You need to do. No, you'll never, ever, 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 ever get me to say that somebody should go to the child support office. Never. So if you watch this video and you feel like, well, I think, and you think you're going to convince me to say, oh yeah, well, child support is good sometimes, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. The one time that I said, or the one time that I would say, is if both parents agree that they need somebody in the middle that can stop them from arguing with each other, and they want somebody like to a buffer so that they don't have to communicate and all that kind of stuff. That's both of them agreeing. Other than that, throw the whole thing away. There's no need for them. I don't think anybody needs somebody to tell them you need to spend $445 a month on your child. They don't do it to married people, and they shouldn't do it to unmarried people. That's a violation of equal protections because they don't do it to them. They don't make they don't make married people pay for children while they go to college. So why do they do it for unmarried parents? It's unconstitutional. And if one thing is unconstitutional, where parents aren't treated fair, if one part of it is not right, it needs to go. Equal protections, and it's not right. So no, if you want to argue, well, what about this? And you need to do, no. I said it before and I say it again, fuck child support. I'm sorry for the cussing if it offends you, but I cuss. And I cuss a lot. I cuss a lot. So, okay, guys, thank you so much. I hope this didn't get too political because I don't like politics per se. I think I'm not right wing, I'm not left wing. I think they all dirty. right wing, left wing, same bird. I think they need to do the right thing by the people, and whoever is doing the right thing, that's who I would support. I used to be caught up in that, Democratic thing, Republican thing. Nah, I don't get into that. I seen dirty on both sides, and I see dirty now on both sides. So I don't even understand. I can't comprehend the whole back and forth about these politicians when they all crooked. They're all crooked. And they do nothing as far as I'm concerned, as long as it benefits them. It and it's sickening to me. They get a lot of money. We pay our taxes, and we do a lot to make this country go around and function. So there should be no hungry children. There should be no hungry adults. There should be no homeless people. As far as I'm concerned, we pay a lot of taxes. People don't even realize how much we pay. But they want to sit up there and not protect us, and then blame other things that have nothing to do with the situation. And so I'm gonna speak about it. I spoke about child support for a long time, and I'm speaking about other things now. So if you came here for child support and you want to hear something else, then if you're new here, welcome. If you don't want to hear about my other topics I want to talk about, and you out, peace. Thanks for your support, but I got a lot of shit to say. Like, I'm gonna talk about it. So, subscribe if you like my content. Appreciate it. Like the video. Um, they're making money off of us, and then God forbid you ask for some of it because you need it because you became disabled, or you lost your job or something like that. They don't even want to give you your money back that you paid taxes to, that you paid into. They want you to beg for that. But that's a whole different topic, and I got a problem with all of that. I got a problem with all that, and I'm tired of them lying to us like we have done something to deserve being treated like that. Like, they treat us like we criminals. I'm not a felon. And I know a bunch of non-felons, so why are we being treated like criminals? And that's a whole different topic, but yeah, I got a lot of shit to say. So make sure y'all subscribe with y'all little ding, what you call the noties. Turn y'all noties on when y'all subscribe. Tell y'all friends to tell a friend. I want to cover a few topics, and fatherlessness is one that I'm studying. My book that I'm working on right now is about welfare allegedly destroying the Black family. That's some bullshit, and I'm dispelling that. And it's not as hard as I thought it was. I knew what it was, but it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be, as far as putting it in writing. So yeah, but hopefully I'll have it up and ready, everything by August. So yeah, I can't wait. I want to know y'all thoughts. I want to discuss that some more. So let's see. Thank you for everything you do. Speaking now, thank you, Blessed by the Best. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you were inspired on this, child, for a reason. Thank you for joining in. Fight the power, definitely. I'm with fighting the power. Always fought the power. I was raised like that. I want to do a video for people that like are working in disabled FMLA. Um, If y'all know about FMLA or y'all don't, I want to do a video about that. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this later. Is that something that y'all would be interested in? Because that's something I went through, and my employer did it all wrong. And it's a long story, but I just want to let people know how that works, how that whole thing works, so that you guys don't go through what I went through, which was some bullshit too. Like, all these people have this authority, and people get messed around because we don't know. Like, that's not our thing. Like, we at work to do our job, so we aren't versed on things like FMLA or the Disability Act and things like that. So because they just want you to be at work doing your job, they don't want to tell you about the benefits that you have and that you are entitled to. So they get to get away with basically whatever they want. So I want to talk about that, just stuff that I've learned over the years, and I want to share the information so that other people don't have to go through what I went through. So that's what I want to do here on my channel. Oh, thank you, Mr. Research TV. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna get on up out of here, and get ready for the next day and see what's popping, what I'm gonna talk about next, and see what they doing. Let's hold these politicians accountable. That's the one thing. If they're not doing what they have been voted in to do, vote their asses out. They sit up there like Mitch McConnell been sitting up there for, I think he been there for 150 years. He looked like he been here a long time, and he need to go. He's the worst. I'm sorry. But if they're not doing what they were voted in there to do, vote their ass out. I don't know. Go. This is a new era. They need to go. And what's the name? What's his name? In Atlanta, he was just elected in a special election. Warnick, he's a reverend. He had a whole child support case. The ex-wife is trying to move and all this kind of stuff. He's saying nothing. And I tweeted to him when I was on Twitter. He said, and on Facebook, he's saying nothing about the child support issue, family court. Why are you there? You know this is an issue. There's people getting killed over custody issues, family court, child support, and he is silent. In my opinion, he got to go. You can't just sit up there and talk about shit that you want to talk about when the people are saying they want to talk about parental alienation and child support and custody. To me, that's a coward. That's a coward move. So if you don't want to talk about what the people want to talk about, then you got to get out of office. That's how I feel about it. He right. They don't say nothing until they get some people up. You gotta have enough oomph about you, get up and go, to be able to be a lone wolf and say something on your own. Like, that's the type of leader I'm looking for. You want to tell people what's going on and why you believe in something, and then tell people, and then have them come and join you. If you sitting up there scared, and especially when you know it's the right thing. Now your wife is about to take your ex-wife want to take your kids out of state, charge you more child support. So you about to be an alienated parent, and you're gonna be paying more, and you're not saying nothing, and you're in the Senate. I don't care. Vote him out. Right. So that's just stuff that I'm looking at. I'm like, what's your platform, and why you there? What are you doing? And I think that's what we all need to do. Forget that arguing. This is just my opinion. I don't have notes on this, but forget that I'm riding with this party because I don't like that person, or I don't like them. And it's like fun, like a high school football. Down with the Bearcats. I was at Brookhaven, Golden Haven. So with Brookhaven, fuck Linda McKinley. That was our rivals. So that's what it's like. I'm a Republican, so fuck the Democrats. No matter what the issue is, it's like you back and forth because y'all just rivals, and that's what it seemed like now. It's so petty. Like, but nothing is getting done. Peace out, Mr. Research. Right, we need leaders. It's just it's sad. Thank you. Okay, thanks you guys for joining in. I'm gonna peace out too, Mr. Research, because I was been on here for an hour, so and I didn't have my water, and but feeling good, and I got to say what I wanted to say, and I think I got to say everything I wanted to say, and I proved my point, which was the point to make sure what I was trying to say got out, and they need to stop lying about that fatherlessness thing. Them shooters was shooting for the reason that they told us, and that's because they was racist. So if y'all need to ask me any questions, if it's a topic that y'all want more information about and I can discuss it, I will. My email is cshustle1@gmail.com. My website is thechildsupporthustle.com. If you want to send a gift to me, cash gift, it will be greatly accepted and appreciated. And it's $TS, wait, TCSH, the number one. It's in the description. Let me see what else. Yeah, that's it. If you are looking for some answers to your child support case, I don't work on individual child support cases anymore. However, if I can point you in the right direction, get you to somebody that may be able to help you, I would be happy to do so. I just don't work on individual cases anymore. So thank you all for your support. If you're watching this later, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like the content. Subscribe and share. And if you are on Facebook, you can go over to the Child Support Hustle. And I changed the name just like I changed the name on here. So it's the Child Support and Fatherless Crisis Hustle. I know that's long. I was in my feelings about this fatherlessness bullshit. So, but the Child Support Hustle, if you look that up and you'll see, but it's a great forum. People talk over there and discuss their issues. You might find out some stuff, and it's a great platform. So you can go over there too. So peace out and keep fighting. Whatever your fight is, don't give up. Keep fighting and fight the power.